Please, let's get this in context. Mr. Farage is not talking about race. He is talking about putting British workers first. So a firm would be able to discriminate whether it's a British worker or like someone from Poland, for example, getting a job, because obviously we need to put the British workers first. We have over 1 million youth unemployed in this country. It's serious, and there are many black teenagers in London who cannot get a job, simply because the Eastern Europeans and Southern Europeans would do the job for cheaper. And that, in my book, would be discrimination. I don't know who else would actually see it as otherwise. I think the majority of the British voters would agree that putting British workers first and putting British youth first for jobs in the job queue is essential. We have a rising population, thus there's more employers can be more picky about who they actually choose. Now we can only do this once we actually leave the European Union. But again, Channel 4, the BBC, the mainstream media misinterpret what Mr. Farage is saying. He is simply saying that a firm would be able to pick a British worker over the Polish or Southern European worker in the jobs queue. So obviously, if there's lots of people applying for that job, British citizens would come first in the job, in the employer's choice of who they actually employ. And it's not complicated. We're not talking about race. We're not talking about undoing the Race Discrimination Act like Labour seems to misinterpret it as, and they say, "Oh yeah, look at UKIP, boohoo, racists." All we're talking about, I mean, UKIP, we're colourblind. We're colourblind in UKIP. We don't care if you're black or white. We don't care who you are as long as you do your job well. But the fact is that we have 1 million youth unemployed, where we do have many people still unemployed in this country, and it's not just low-skilled jobs, it's professional jobs like a building trade affected. Every single sector is being affected. And if you're a builder, you would get paid less for the work you did if you did the same job 10 years ago. So a bricklayer would get less than a 2005 bricklayer, simply because the Eastern European and some European builders would be able to do it for cheaper, for less. And it is a serious problem, and it needs to be tackled, because what you're going to do with all these young youth unemployed, are you just going to condemn them to the scrap heap for them to be living years on benefits and also years and not working? How is that a sensible policy for getting people back to work? And no, the answer is not just simply shoving all these youth unemployed onto work for 0-hour contract jobs. They need proper jobs. There are proper jobs out there, but the jobs are being filled out by Eastern Europeans and Southern Europeans because they can do the job for cheaper, on the cheap. We have a cheap run labour economy, and I believe that the tax bill would be reduced if we left the European Union and controlled the immigration. We would be able, and also say to anyone who's coming here, you won't be entitled to working tax credits, you won't be entitled to free national health service from the moment you got it. You have to work for it, like millions of other British people have done. They've worked for it. They go pay years into their taxes for it, and then finally had to sell their home just to actually afford to live in a care home, which is disgraceful, really, in my opinion. That's another subject in hand. But I believe that we must put the British workers first. But when people say this, they suddenly call you a racist, but it's just common sense. Let me remind you, over 1 million youth unemployed. people, millions, are taking far less. I'm not just talking about low-skilled workers, I'm talking about professionals as well. Millions of British people taking less than they did 10 years ago. And many companies are just saying, like, put with a pay cut or get out. So if you've been doing that job well for the last 10 years, for example, yeah, and they actually just say, no, we're cutting costs down, and we are actually slashing your wages. How would you react due to the rising costs of living? Because it's just common sense, really, that if I said before, if Cambridge was an independent republic and you had about 50,000 people a year coming to Cambridge, the price of property would soon soar through the roof. The price of everything from beer to bread to fags, everything would increase. And I think the A&E and books would be on continuous emergency life support. And this is just a picture of what's happening in some parts of the country. And immigration affects everything. It affects wage compression, people taking less than they did 10 years ago, cost of living is soaring. Because the cost of living is soaring and the wages are actually going down. And obviously the standard of living in this country goes down as well. So I don't see what Nigel Farage saying as a big hoo-ha. I see it as just common sense, as Mark Littlechild said. He was defending Mr. Farage earlier, and the media are whipping up a storm, and they're saying, "Ooh, boo-hoo, look at Farage, ooh, yeah, let's get him. Because it's UKIP, let's get him. Gotcha."